Welcome to the space between two lines. I'm Alex Saunders, and this is a space for real, honest conversations about fertility, pregnancy loss, and the journey to parenthood. Here, we hear the stories of people navigating the highs, the lows, and everything in between. A place to feel seen, understood, and less alone. Because every story matters, and so does yours. Today's guest is Sarah. After navigating the challenges of polycystic ovary syndrome, male factor infertility, and the emotional rollercoaster of IVF, Sarah knows firsthand how difficult the road to parenthood can be. In this episode, she shares the highs, the lows, and the resilience it takes to keep moving forward when every step feels uncertain. Sarah's story is a powerful reminder that infertility affects both partners and that hope can still exist even in the hardest moments. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Did you want to start by introducing yourself to our audience and just telling us a little bit about what your life looks like at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, guys. I'm Sarah. I am planning my wedding as well as my fertility journey. So life is a little hectic. We sold our house, bought a house, fertility journey, and got engaged all last year. So life's full on.
Yeah, I can imagine. I want to take you back, or I guess I want you to share with us when you first thought about having children and I guess what your ideas around conception were, whether that was recently or a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was brought up with the notion that, you graduated and you had an idea that you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. For me, it was a mum. I didn't want a career. I wanted to be a mum. That was all I had ever had an ambition for in life. I was then told when I was about 17 that I'd have a 1% chance of having a child due to PCOS. Did I get a second opinion at the time? No, I was 17. So then when my ex-husband and I started to try and have children, I had PCOS, overweight. So it was a struggle. I knew I was sort of ready that there would be some struggle on my behalf to have children, but I was determined. So I did everything that I could to have the children.
I also want to go back to the doctor saying that you had a 1% chance of falling pregnant.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I'm a gynecologist, so it wasn't like it was some sort of random. He was on the older end of the spectrum, but yeah, having been told 1% chance I did have a lot of tests at the time. It obviously didn't have the equipment or the procedures and things that we have now, being so long ago, but it certainly was the shock when all you had ever wanted in life was to be a mum and to be called a mum and to be pregnant and to have the feeling of being pregnant and all that sort of thing. So it certainly was a shock. So I went through most of my life believing I would have a struggle and a challenge in my life. What those challenges were wasn't what I am now experiencing.
When you did decide you wanted to start trying for children, did you go and seek medical help or were you just trying naturally?
We did both. So we started naturally first, not presuming that there would be any struggle on his part.
Yeah.
So yeah, we tried for years naturally thinking, it could happen. We tried naturally, but naturally with medications. I am built that I do not lose weight. So that wasn't helping at all. Then we tried through fertility clinic. The journey was not easy. Together at the time, we would move clinic after clinic after clinic. Now knowing why we moved clinic so many times, that he was hiding a massive secret that I found out just before I asked for a separation, that he knew all along that he could not have children. So yeah, coming out of that marriage, I still believed I couldn't have children. It was, yes, I have PCOS, but it was the twofold in that relationship at the time. Then I did have some success that turned out not successful. So there is evidence that I can conceive, which is a miracle. And I very much look forward to having that miracle again in my life. I'm now with the most incredible man that I've ever met in my life, and now in our own fertility struggle again on the male fertility side. So yeah, I've been hit with the stick again, but I also have the resilience and the past experiences to get me through it. I know what to expect. I know what to do. I know what the doctors say and what tests are expected and how to build myself up when the tests are negative. So it was an awful time to go through, but it's also built me a lot stronger than I think I could have gone if I didn't have such struggles.
Yeah, for sure. So when you say you're moving from fertility clinic to fertility clinic, is that before you were getting results? Like,
Yes.
was your
Yes.
ex-partner, was he making those decisions saying he wasn't happy and wanting to move to another
So
place? Is that what was
he would
happening?
make up, well, not make up, but we would decide, oh, we didn't like the way that that clinic spoke to us. We didn't like the way that they were dealing with the process. We didn't like the government rules around public IVF assistance because you had to fit into a box of rules. I didn't fit into that because I was overweight, but nobody ever checked him. So probably about, I think we went to probably maybe 8 clinics across the process and only 7 didn't touch him. It was all me. I was the problem. When they asked him to do tests, he just didn't do it. He would find an excuse or he would lie to me or the clinic lost the result. The clinic stuffed up the results, things like that. Then the last clinic is the one that said, you know what? I don't want to know about the parts. I'm starting fresh. Go and get this test and do it in our clinic. So he did. We found out that he had zero mobility, zero morphology. There was no chance. Then, with the help of the GP, discovered that he knew all along.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine what that would have felt like.
It was it was the sort of like the nail coffin, but yeah, it made sense. Put
Yeah.
all those pieces together that, yes, I did play a part in that, but it answered a lot of questions along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if you were with the support of medications, ovulating, and then you were carrying that weight the entire time thinking that it was all you. Like that in itself is a lot to carry, regardless of anything else. Then to find out for all of that time that, he also had an issue and didn't share that with you would have been awful.
Yeah, look, it was a stab in the heart, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of evidence and a lot of signs that I'm now seeing that sort of made sense. We didn't move those clinics because they lost his tests. He just didn't have it. He didn't want me to know.
Yeah. I guess it's a good self-advocation piece for people, though, that if they are going to specialists and they're not testing the male side of things to, have that done, because I've heard of it quite often that people will get a few years down their fertility journey and then they'll have the male tested and there might be something wrong. And it's like they've gone that amount of time just thinking that it was either unexplained or there was something in the female part. So I guess it's just really good for people to listen and, if you haven't had those tests done, just get them done at the start. Like doesn't really,
Doesn't hurt.
require much, right? Like a bit uncomfortable maybe, but that's it.
It's like the
you
have
know,
to go through uncomfortable, the man can go through a little something. Absolutely. I am a huge advocate for this now that, especially in my new relationship, that was the first thing we did. I said, look, we want children down the track. We did try naturally for just a little bit, but when it didn't start happening, I was straight into, we are going to a clinic. We are getting you tested. And I'm like that with my friends and family and those I speak to about my journey. I asked, do you ever want to have kids? No, that's fine. Yes. Go and get tested. Like there's no point wasting 5, 10, 15 years of your life trying naturally or the woman getting tested when you've just wasted 15 years when you could have had assistance. Yeah, okay, so men, it's an ego. An ego thing. I get it. But do you want a baby or do you want ego?
Yeah,
An easy choice.
exactly. Yeah, so true. Okay, so now I want to take you to, so you've met your new partner and you've obviously had those conversations early on that you wanted to have a child. What did the next steps look like for you? So you were trying naturally. How long did you try naturally for? And with your PCOS, do you have regular cycles? Can you track them or is it a bit spread out? How do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, so I had weight loss surgery just before my separation. I lost a significant amount of weight that actually highly improved my PCOS symptoms. So I now have regular cycles. I ovulate naturally, ovulate fantastic when on fertility treatment. I excelled in all of my cycles when I was doing egg collections. So we did try naturally. Then we tried naturally with chemicals intervention. So good old Clomid. I was doing my part. It was still not happening. There was no signs of male infertility at the time. It only lasted maybe 6 months before I'm like, you know what? No, clinic, let's get you tested. Like, it didn't hurt. We first went to a GP to get the male test done. We found out that there was an issue. So then that's when we went straight to a clinic. We went to a fertility clinic. They looked into it further and discovered what the problem was. We went down the track of egg collections, male collections, all of that. We had 37 eggs, 37 male samples to put together, and we had one embryo.
Okay. So with your eggs and sperm, did they do ICSI to implant your eggs, or did they just do it
Yeah,
where they put them in
made up
them?
the embryos and then transferred that out of all of that, only one embryo lasted,
Okay.
and they implanted that one embryo.
Other than having that weight loss surgery, was there anything else you did with your lifestyle? Were you taking any supplements? Is there anything else you did to improve your cycle that you think helped you along the way? Or was it mainly, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm now a huge advocate for you are in charge of your destiny. My overall belief is that I got out of my marriage. The stress, the angst, the unhappiness, the negativity, everything that was in my marriage contributed to not only my weight gain, but also my overall health. So being in a happy, beautiful new body, new life, new me definitely helped with my symptoms. And that's, not eating as much, not drinking as much, being happier, healthier, lighter. All of that definitely nature versus nurture. And I cannot advocate for that enough. That being in a place where I'm happy within myself stopped a lot of that negative energy. The negative chemicals in my body definitely helped with those symptoms.
As soon as you found out that there was some sort of male factor infertility, you went straight to IVF.
Yep.
And then would you be comfortable just talking me through what your egg collection looked like? Like, did you get because I know with PCOS as well, you can collect quite a few eggs and the symptoms from that can be, pretty full on. How did you take to that? How was that experience for you?
So I had already had a little bit of experiencing symptoms from, unnatural chemical intervention in your body. So hormonal, weight gain, bloating, moods. Oh my gosh, moods. Like, that was pretty bad. But the whole process was seeing the specialist, and they put you on a plan of when to have these certain medications, what medications, how to have them. I worked with a beautiful nurse at the clinic. She helped me through absolutely everything. Giving myself injections so frequently, that was new for me. It depends, just like you would give diabetics, which my ex used all the time. So I was familiar with the process, the outcome, all that sort of thing. So the first round was cancelled. I had never ovulated naturally in my life, proven naturally in my life. I went through all the injections, all the ultrasounds. 2 days before it was time to have egg collection, I went through my last ultrasound that showed I had ovulated naturally. How did that happen when I'm on the medication that is supposed to monitor and prevent natural ovulation? And of all time, like, come on, like that. But not to mention it's very expensive. The cycle is expensive. So we stopped that round. And then I had to wait for my natural cycle to come to start again. So we gave it one cycle in between, and then we started again. So went through all the shots, the timings, the ultrasounds, the blood tests. Went in for egg collection. I think 13 in my first egg collection. That was a good number. Very, very good number. There were more follicles that they could have pushed a little further to get more, but they didn't want to take that risk. So we took out the 13. Very simple. Go in, have the procedure, and then my partner picked me up at the end. Beautiful gowns. They write the number on your hand, like they say in all the stories. Then we had a break, and we all decided, yep, let's do this once more. I excelled in the first full cycle. Let's see what we can get on the next cycle. So I did all the shots again and went through the whole cycle, had massive amount of outcome. And this one, I think there was 19, 20 this time, which was exactly perfect for us. Then it was time for my partner to have his procedure. That was a 50-50 chance if there was anything going to be there. And we got the call after the day of collection for him, and the specialist was able to get 37. So the exact amount of 37, maths is not mathing, the exact amount of eggs I had, they were able to get the exact amount of sperm from him. So it was absolutely meant to be.
Okay, so he needed a procedure for that to be able to get it. Yeah. Okay, so did they, from your original cycle, did they freeze those eggs and then, and then it was time to put it all together?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they froze both of my collections because it was male infertility. They didn't want to take the risk of my past history to go fresh to fresh because they didn't know what they were going to get from him. They didn't want me either wasting time, putting my body through unnecessary chemicals to then be the day of and not have what we need or not enough of what we need because we didn't know the quality that we were going to get from him either. It was just a huge risk factor. So we decided that let's go frozen, that we know is more monitorable. They can monitor everything about it enough to say, yeah, it's go time. So we agreed to 5 eggs being increased it to 10 on the day because we just had a positive energy. Then when they called and said, look, we've used all 10, what do you want to do? I spoke to my partner and we agreed because there was exact number to number. Let's put all our eggs in one basket. Thinking about it now, we probably should have stopped and had a thought about what if this didn't happen. We just thought, look, we had all of the energy and positive thoughts on our side that there was a perfect number for both sides. This was our chance. Let's do it. Let's put everything into it. Now with what the outcome was, I now have to go through a collection again. If we didn't use up all the eggs, I wouldn't need to go under all that again. We did what we thought was best at the time.
Yeah. So when you say that they said they used all 10, was that they had fertilized them or they weren't successfully fertilized?
No, so that's when they put the egg and sperm together to create embryo. So they fertilized on the form when you sign off on how many you want to release without them having to come back and get more permission. So you can, on that form, say, use absolutely all eggs in the basket. You could take one, and then if they have more sample to use, then they come back to you and say, where do you want to go to from here?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And what was the breakdown like? So obviously you're starting from, you've got to move through that day 5. So they fertilized all of the eggs. Did you get a call the next day to tell you what your numbers looked like?
So we got a call on the day that they fertilized. We got the next day to say, well, this is what we've done. So far, this is what they look like. So it was done on the Wednesday. We got a call on the Thursday. We got a call on the Saturday just because they were doing so many. They had the staff on for that day. And then we got a call on the Monday to say, look, it's all going really, really well. This is what we're thinking about doing. Sorry, no, it was Friday. So it was done Friday, Saturday, Monday. Wednesday was the last day that said, we've got one. So out of the 30 odd, we have one that we want to implant. And so that's the day of transfer. They will call you and say, this is what we've got left, because you might not have any that have lasted that day, which means you don't need to come in and do that implantation. We had one. It wasn't, we had one and we had a couple left in the freezer or that was still growing. The rest stopped growing on the Tuesday. So they were going great guns. They were strong. They were beautiful. They were A grade. They just stopped growing from that last day. But that one embryo was strong. It was healthy. So we did implantation and I really made it a journey for my partner and I to, we don't get the natural conceiving of a child. You don't get the shock of, oh, I feel a bit sick. I might take a pregnancy test. Oh my God, we're pregnant. We're not going to get that. So I wanted to make each step a journey for us to be able to remember to have a little bit of that romance.
Yeah.
Romance infertility journeys It's gone. There's
Yeah,
none of that.
doesn't exist. So,
Absolutely none. So I wanted to make it special.
how did you process finding out that you probably were expecting to have a lot more embryos than you did? Was that a shock when you found out you had one? And how did you process that information?
So I think I've learned across the years not to get excited. You go through a journey of at the start, you put all your energy and all your positive thoughts into it to have a negative. And that's the sad stage of fertility. You do get a little excited that, there was a 50-50% chance that they weren't going to find anything for him, but they did. Okay, you can increase your positivity just a little, but still hold yourself back. Don't get too excited. Then when there was one, this is our shot. Like, yeah, okay, so we got a bit excited, but internally for me, I was scared. I was still, nah, we don't know what this is going to be. Don't go and validate your stuff out. After implantation, through that 2-week wait, it wasn't until the last 2 days I allow myself to get a little excited. I was doing everything you had to do. You have to pretend you're pregnant. So there's eating pregnant healthy foods, all of the tablets and the antioxidants and everything you do as if you are pregnant, which is a mind screw because all you want to be is pregnant. And you have to do all of these stress and hardship to get to that point. And you're faking it. You're playing a game that you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And then I was nauseous, throwing up. I had sensory overload. I was reading what to expect when you're expecting. On the last day, I allowed myself to join in. And that was great, but also scary. I told my partner I was having the 2-week wait, at the end of the 2-week wait to find out if it was successful or not. I told him the appointment was on the Wednesday. It was actually the Monday. So I went off to work. He didn't know. I actually went to the clinic first thing in the morning. I made it the same time that I would normally go to work so that he wouldn't be suspicious because I wanted to come home. I had everything planned to say that we were pregnant. I wanted him to have the surprise that I knew I would never get. Surprise, we're pregnant. So went to the clinic. Things just felt odd the last 2 days. I was getting pre-period cramp. I was just inside. I don't know if it's a woman's instinct. I just knew. I knew. So went to the clinic. The nurse that we had made a connection with was there. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I just broke down. I couldn't hold it together anymore. I was in a safe space. I'm in a space where it's very, very familiar for them, for women to come in and be in a vulnerable situation. Had the blood test. I was a mess when I got home. I didn't have the results, but I just knew. I knew that it wasn't my time. She called me 3 hours later, I think. She left me a voicemail, and the tone on the voicemail to give her a call, I knew. When I called her back, which was pretty much straight away, but I called her back, and the tone on the other end, I knew exactly what she was going to say. And although I expected it and what I had been in my past, every single time you hear that, you die every time. Inside, like the light dims even more so each time until I guess that time the dim went out.
Yeah. I'm
Was
sorry, it would
There
have
was
been
nothing
really
to
hard.
see. But the thing is, I chose how to do that so that my partner had something at the end of it. And in the end, I ended up having to do it all alone. So when he got home, that I let him go through the day so that he didn't suffer at work or he wasn't driving to get home to me. I waited until he got home. Mainly because I didn't have the support that I needed from my last partner through the struggles. I didn't know how my new partner was going to handle it either. So I think I chose to do it so that I protected myself and I had that time to be okay with it before I just told him. And I told him, and yeah, he's been one out. It was, the struggle is for both of us. It's my body, our journey, and it was just not the time for us.
Yeah, it's so hard. And even just talking about the 2-week wait, like with going through everything you go through with IVF, it carries so much more weight than like, I mean, the 2-week wait is hell regardless if you're trying to conceive naturally, but all of the stuff that you go through to get to that point with IVF, like even just the waiting for your embryos and all that kind of thing, it is just like so much to carry. And then like waiting for that result, and that result, like I could imagine it would have been completely heartbreaking after everything that you'd been through. And even kind of going back to when you originally had those tests done to move through this process, how did if you're comfortable talking about it, your partner process that?
My current partner is a very strong-willed, positive person. So he knows absolutely everything of my past. So he knew what I went through on both sides of the struggles. So when we found out that was a struggle on his side, I think there was a lot of disconnect. I can only speak from what I saw on the outside, but a lot of disconnect that until he had the surgery or the procedure to prove or to show that there is no chance. I think he took it like a champ, but also he went through up and down stages of why me? Why like there's been no evidence in my family that we were going to have this problem. It's a condition that men don't find that they have until they try for a child. So there could be a lot of men, children, teenagers that have the condition that he has, but they don't know until they go to a clinic with their partner and want to have children. And then they've gone through their whole life not knowing that this is what they're going to face. So we are a huge advocate for that for now. And when we do have sons, we will be getting them tested straight away. And you can get tested straight away from birth. So he went through these up and down waves of, I'm okay. And then his friends will have kids, or he'll see people with kids, or there'll be a pregnancy announcement. The pain we go through, they go through. And you can see it on their face. They don't cry or talk about it like we do. They internalize it. But when my very, very strong man breaks down in my arms because he just spent time with his 2 godchildren, it's hard. I'm very self-aware of this journey for everybody, not just within myself. So I may have coddled him. I may have wrapped him up in cotton wool because I knew one day it will hit him. And when that day comes, his life will never be the same. You won't look at children the same. You won't see pregnancy on TV the same. You won't look at children in the shopping centres, or the way that some parents choose to parent their children may not mean the same thing to you anymore, because you may not have that chance. And that day came, and it's never been the same for him since. I think mentally that switch has turned. Women that go through the fertility treatment know you can never turn that switch back. It'll never be the same. Life just never is the same after being told there is a struggle ahead for you, or you're going through that struggle. But I think for men, they just don't think it's ever going to be there. Fertility treatments, the F in fertility in IVF is female. That's how I feel men often see that. They don't see an M in IVF. They should. They should always think that you're not safe until you birthed a child, until that child is living and breathing, that there is ever going to be a problem.
Yeah. I think in a sense it's the way the world, I mean, there's more information now than there was, but the world almost views it like that as well. Like it's, there's a fertility issue, you can't have a baby, then you look at the female right away. Like it's just, yeah, kind of a bit of a taboo thing. So it's really great to be talking about this. And
Yeah. And that's why I reached out to you, because
yeah,
my past fertility journey, there was no one to talk to. Nobody talked about their treatment. Nobody talked about their struggles. There were, no support groups, no support Facebook pages, no podcasts, no books, no tools. Now, I went through a whole journey of self-reflection and growth, and I was always had that mindset. So I was always going out to get what I don't know internally. This time, there are Facebook pages, there are catch-ups, there are podcasts, there are books after books after books. There are so many tools for our toolbox, and still people don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
People don't understand it, so it's not spoken about. I can't speak to my mum about it. My mum's never understood my journey or supported me in the way that I need, because struggles weren't a thing back then. You know, when they were having children, you just kept trying, try. Or you got, like I had friends who got pregnant on their honeymoon. I don't have anyone who's gone through fertility struggles until probably this time around that people open up about their story. We connect and there's new friendships flowing. And, we all have different baskets of friendships, but having a friend or people in your inner circle that understand, oh, so sick of the pinning of an injection, or another ultrasound, there's 6 follicles. Some of my friends don't even understand what that means. Whereas I have now people to lean on that they're like, oh, yeah, but what was the measurements of those follicles? Great question. Thank you for being and hearing me. Like the nausea of the medication. My girlfriends support me through everything. I truly am blessed that way. But they are also the first to admit that there's a piece missing of the puzzle that they just can't fill. And I'm sorry, but I need something. My partner doesn't fully understand, although it's his journey as well, there's still that part missing of me. And, like I always explained it like someone's hugging me, but you don't feel that hug. Whereas you have a fertility friend or sister hugging you, you feel that warmth because it's that full connection of what you're going through. I was even at one point leaning on my fertility staff. Nobody else understood except them. Whereas now through what you're doing, through Facebook pages, I think the more we are talking about it, the more less taboo it is. We're not alone. There are journeys, there are struggles, there are other people going through what we're going through. And you know what? It's okay. You need help with your car, you go and get some assistance. You need help with your heart, you go and get assistance. What is so taboo about needing a chemical intervention to have a family? We can't do it naturally like others. What is taboo about chemical intervention, about fertility treatment? What is wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing. That is so well said. And I think even now, like even when I started my journey like 2 years ago, it's still like it's spoken about a lot more now than it was then. And it can feel so isolating. But once you do open up, as you said, you realize there is all these people around you going through something very similar and you're definitely not alone.
Where I have made my connections is through talking about my journey. One particular friend who is new but has very quickly become a very great friend is we met on Bumble. No, was it Bumble? Or maybe, no, I think it was Melbourne Friends or Women in Friendship Melbourne or whatever the Facebook group is. We connected just because we lived on this side of town. We loved shopping and cheese platters. On our first date, we just opened up about ourselves. And I opened up about my journey because I'm not ashamed of my past. I'm ashamed of not making decisions for myself sooner, but I'm not ashamed that's what I went through and that's built who I am now. Why would I be ashamed of that? I'm not the one that's lying. So I opened up about my journey, and it turns out she is also going through that journey, but she never had anyone to talk to about it. So great friendships come from being yourself. And that's happened a lot for me. I've opened up about my journey to randoms, to strangers, to people I've just met. And I've had so many people come back at me and say one or two things. One, either, thank you for sharing. Like, it's so great that you're making this less taboo. And the other thing that people are saying is, you know what? I've been so fearful of opening up about things about myself that I'm afraid people will judge. But you're doing it so openly. This is me. Let me tell you my story. And people are just speak of the speakingness. Like if the more we talk about something, the less people are fearing it. The less people think, oh God, my mum won't talk about it, so I'm not allowed to talk about it. No, they used the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s way of life. That's not us anymore. We've got change in chemical intervention. We've got change in medical procedures. Why are things so taboo? I don't agree with it. I talk about it. I come onto podcasts at 8 o'clock in the morning to talk about how let's break that barrier. We are here on earth to support each other, not to fight against each other. And I went through my first 10-year journey without anybody. It was the most lonely part of my existence. I need support. That means other people need support. If I'm seeking help and friendship and connection on this journey, you bet you there's going to be other people that are going to be doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So well said. And thank you for sharing that message. And the clear message is communicate. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it more. And yeah, that's obviously what this podcast is about. But yeah, I feel like as soon as you open up about these things, a whole can of work, like, everyone opens up to you and you find out people that have been through it that you would have never known who, you see that baby at the end, you see the happy ending, but you never know what people have gone through to get there. So yeah, let's talk about it more.
The more we talk about it, the less those pregnancy announcements hurt. Always hurt. But I think a lot for me, the hurt came from not having anyone who understands to lean on. I lean on friends, obviously. Friends, my girlfriends, my best friends, but they haven't been in this journey. And so when I do get those pregnancy announcements, where do I go to? I can't do this alone. And I know there are others out there who think they have to go through it alone because people don't understand or are, allowed to talk about it. No, talk about it. The more it's out there, the more we support each other. I feel like that little bit of pain goes away. And fertility looks different to everybody.
Yes.
Like for me, it's been something on both sides for so long of my life. Our journeys are different. They're all valid, all acceptable, all okay to struggle through. We should be supporting each other regardless of what your journey looks like.
Yeah, 100%. So what do things look like for you now moving forward? You spoke about going through another egg collection. Are you getting ready for that? What's the next, I guess, year going to look like for you?
Besides planning the wedding and trying to focus
Oh, your
on
wedding.
that,
Yeah, when's that?
in March next year,
Oh, exciting. Yeah.
so it is a little bit less aching that I do have something to look forward to and to plan and to take my mind off things, but there's still that part of me missing. And what that looks like is we'll be using a known donor. So we're just going through those stages first. So they're having to do their part once they are to whatever stage it looks like with the specialist for them. Then yeah, I'll be going through an egg collection and then going through that direction, which hopefully means pregnant at the wedding. It could mean, who knows? In this journey, all you can do is go through the stages and the steps by step. You can't, plan ahead because you just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Was that an easy or challenging decision to make to go with a donor?
It was easy to use a donor. It wasn't easy to choose between a known and an unknown donor. For me, adoption is always an option, but it's not. I want to go through absolutely everything before I get there because I crave to be pregnant, to have the feeling of the child in me. I want to experience that. So that was a given that we were going to go through all donors option. The journey of it being a known donor for me as the mother, as the carrier, as the woman, not easy. Absolutely not easy. There is a lot of out of my controls. There is a lot of, just uncontrollable situations and not being able to be a part of it all because they also have the privacy of their lives and, it doesn't go by my timeline. We're going through a clinic at a secondary person's timeline. For me, as an OCD control freak, it's hard. It really is super hard. My partner at first is not up for unknown donor because he wants to have that part of him. And that part of him is anywhere from family and friends. We've had so many of his friends offer. So going through that part is very hard. Do I think an unknown donor would be easier? Yes. In the short term, yeah. In the long term, we have a child. Doesn't matter where it came from. When the moment it's put into our arms and it become our son or daughter, Where does it matter where it came from?
Was there much paperwork, or are you still working through that? Like, do you need a lawyer and those kinds of things if you do have a known sperm donor?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
fun fact, when you go through a clinic, the lawyer is optional. Now, we found that out before we spent $700 on a 30-minute consultation before we even went any further. So I ask a lot of questions. I like to know my facts. I do a lot of research. We were told, yes, we would have to have our own lawyer. Even if we're going through a clinic, we need our own lawyer. So I reached out to a lot of lawyers who are family lawyers. Fun fact, not all family lawyers do IVF. Very important to specify your journey, not just that you need a family lawyer. So then we found one who's a very well-known one within the fertility space. She was going to charge $790 something for a half an hour session, right? So I wanted to go into that session, being that it's so expensive and you only get a short time frame, with exactly what we need from them. So I went back to our clinic and I said, can you specify very, very clearly what it is that we need from this appointment? And they came back saying, you don't need a lawyer. It is an optional thing to have, not as legal representation, as support. As
Okay.
you get a document or a contract from the clinic that you don't understand what it means, then you take it to a lawyer. You don't need a lawyer to represent you in our journey, in what is required from us, and that is a known donor through a clinic that is over the age of 18. So we are very cut and paste with what our journey looks like moving forward right now. Very, very clinical. We don't need a lawyer, and we only found that out by asking those questions. What questions did I need to ask? I have no idea. ChatGPT. Be all and all. ChatGPT has helped a lot. But if I hadn't have gone back with asking, what do I need from that lawyer, would we have spent a significant amount? Because it wouldn't have been just one up with the lawyer. It would have been many more. So really lean in on your clinic and make sure you choose a very good clinic. And in terms of paperwork, there is an abundance of paperwork. You're always signing something, always getting information sheet or forms to fill out, either though you're in the same clinic. Each specialist within the clinic have their own paperwork and onboarding and something to sign. So have a good, pay for Adobe Editor so that you don't have to sign each document. You just electronic signature up each time. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah, that's great. And so good for people to know that, do some research. You don't necessarily need to pay all these fees for lawyers. Okay. Thank you so much for this conversation. You've already shared so much amazing advice. Is there any last words you had or any messages you wanted to send to anyone that might be going through any kind of infertility struggle at the moment?
Yeah. So something that's not really talked about or is taboo is counseling. I have been in and out of counseling my entire life. Each stage of my life, I go back into counseling. You think you're okay, something happens, something gets triggered, I go straight back into counseling. With fertility struggles, wherever you are, there are people who can help you. You do not have to do it alone. There are people trained in this journey. And if you're not getting what you need from that person, it is okay to go to somebody else. I've been through 5 fertility specializing counselors because they're just not understanding where I'm at, what I need. So I will go to somebody else. And I finally found someone who has gone through the journey herself, so she understands. And it's like when you go to a restaurant and you don't like what's on the menu, it's okay to get up and leave. You don't have to put up with it. You don't have to go through life putting up with something that you're not okay with. And nor should you do that through this journey that is hard enough as it is. Don't mentally carry that load. That is my last piece of advice.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for today. And I'm so hopeful for you that I'll be crossing everything that your next journey with IVF is successful. And good luck with your wedding as well.
Thank
That's super
you.
exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and good luck, everybody, wherever you are in your journey.
Yeah, for sure. This has been The Space Between Two Lines. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and register on our website to share your story. The link is in the bio. Until next time.